Hello to everyone around the world, around Africa, the globe at large. This is Tuso Kumalo here in Johannesburg. In this episode that we have today, we mark one of the saddest moments in Zimbabwe, where one of the people who has been recently kidnapped by allegedly unknown assailants was buried today in Zimbabwe. And the question that we ask today is, who is responsible for kidnapping and killing people in Zimbabwe? This is something that has been going for too long, and we want just to look into this. We won't take much of our investigative skills into it because everything is open and everything is wide open right on the ground. People know who are doing these things, but people don't want to talk about it. And today we want to venture into that, ask questions and leave it for you to discover who it is. The person who is being buried today was Atafumane Masaya. On December 9, we know he was campaigning for his party, the Citizens Coalition for Change. He was kidnapped, bundled into a car with an known number place by unknown people. He's allegedly have been tortured, and his body was later discovered. But who is doing this in Zimbabwe? This has been going for too long, and Zimbabweans being silent and not saying exactly who it is. But let's look at the characteristics of these kidnappings that have been happening for some time. In most of these cases, these people are driving unmarked cars, and some of them, they've got hidden faces. And then this begs to ask a question: are there police in Zimbabwe where some people are driving unmarked cars and unidentified? If we count at the number of kidnappings that have been there, is it truthful that police have not seen these people? Every road is mounted with police troubling taxi drivers and unregistered cars. Is it true that these people have not been identified? This is one of the questions that we pose to you for you to ponder upon. And of course, these people are usually heavily armed with AK-47. How do you, in a country like Zimbabwe, where there is police all over, where there is central intelligence all over, have people carrying AK-47, kidnapping people, killing them, and not even one of them have been caught since history? This is one of the questions that should be asked. Why is it that even the intelligence has failed to kill these people? If indeed these are people outside the intelligence, outside the police, why have they not been caught? This is a question that we should be asking as the country buries one of those victims out of many that have lost their lives through this kidnapping. And of course, one of the points that we look at here is that all the perpetrators are Zimbabweans. These are people who speak Shona, these are people who speak Ndebele. So these are not foreigners coming into the country to kidnap people. No, these are people in Zimbabwe. So they are armed, they are Zimbabweans, they drive unmarked cars, and you tell me the police have not been able to catch these people. You tell me the intelligence in Zimbabwe has not been able to capture these people. Why? The big question is not why they've not been able to capture them only, but it's what do they know about these people that they have failed to capture them? And of course, one of the things is that they torture their victims. So they keep their victims for long. They drive their victims for long drives, take them to secluded places where these victims are tortured. And you tell me the roads that they use, there are no police there. The police only come in when the body is discovered. What do police know that Zimbabweans don't know about these people? They only come in when there is a body. When these kidnappings are happening, you don't see the police. When they drive around long distances, you don't see the police. When they torture these people, you don't see. These are armed people. These are people driving unmarked vehicles, roaming the streets of Zimbabwe. And you tell me the police have not seen them. They only see the bodies of these victims. And one of the things that they've done of late, these victims, those that have survived, have told stories of torture. And in addition to that torture, they say they are being injected by unknown substances. What would be the motive? why would they be injected? And one of the characteristics, the things that they say is that they are being quizzed about their political affiliation. Who has interest in these people's political affiliation? Who has interest? Most of them, they are in the opposition or they are government critics. Who has interest in the business of government critics? Who has interest in the business of opposition members to an extent that he kidnaps them, he tortures them, and kills them? This is a question that we throw to you to ponder upon. Who has interest in all this? And of course, we know that some of them have ended in police custody. This is a very interesting part. You remember the two MPs. I don't want to bother you about the question. Joanna and the rest, they ended up in police custody after having been kidnapped, after they were tortured, after they were injured, while on their injury bed, nursing their bruises and their injuries. The police came and issued a warrant of arrest, and they appeared in court for that. Quite interesting. Police never knew anything about their kidnappings. Police never knew anything about their torture. Police never knew anything about their injuries, but they were seeking them, and they went to their beds in hospitals and arrested them. Quite interesting. And police all along have professed ignorance about the whole scenario. Do you believe the police? Do you believe what is happening is not known to the authorities? Do you believe the Central Intelligence has become so dull and dumb that they cannot catch these people if they really wanted to, if they really did not know about these people? This is Thuso Khumalo here. We're discussing who is behind the kidnapping of people in Zimbabwe. This is one of those broadcasts that we're going to be doing to you, just to unravel some of the things that are being done and to pose questions and ask you to think deeper and make a conclusion for yourself. These are some of the things that we've seen. But let's look at the people, the possibilities of all this, because we've seen that the perpetrators, he said they are not known, the kidnappings, the cars are not being caught by the police. This armory that these guys have, heavily armed with the AK-47 in a country where there is a government, and we are told that no one knows anything about it. But let's look at possible scenarios that can be there, just in terms of what are the possibilities. Where you have got this group of people causing so much havoc, targeting not everyone in the country, but targeting members of the opposition, government critics, and the government knows nothing about it, and the intelligence knows nothing about it, and the police knows nothing about it. Let's look at the possibilities. If this happens in a proper country with a proper government, one hypothesis will be maybe there is a rebel group that have entered the country, that is in charge of certain sections of the country, and the government is powerless to do anything about it. But then that hypothesis, it is displaced by the fact that these are not foreigners. These are Zimbabweans speaking Zimbabwean languages, driving Zimbabwean cars, taking these victims to Zimbabwean places, so they know the place. Unless the government admits there is a rebel group that has taken over the country, these people must be known by the state. Unless the state is telling us that these are foreigners that have learned Zimbabwean languages, that are speaking Zimbabwean languages, that are doing criminal activities, that are carrying illegal guns, that are driving illegal cars. Really? Is that possible? So that hypothesis also can be dismissed. But also, one fact is that these people could be known by the government. And if they are known by the government, why will the government security apparatus not arrest them? Because there is a link between them with the government, because the government knows their mission, because the government has a hand in what they do. Why would that hypothesis be true? The victims that have escaped from the hands of these people have said they have been tortured, being asked why they do what they do in politics, being asked why they say what they say against the government of the time. And if the government says it doesn't know anything about that, it begs to answer the questions, then who knows? Who sent these people? Because when they torture these people, they profess to be talking or torturing them or killing them on behalf or as a result of their actions against the government of the time. We have had testimonies from the opposition members that have escaped. The same script. We've had testimonies from people like Justina Mokoko, who was tortured for quite some time, cruel by the same group of people using the same tactics. And she was being quizzed about her role in discrediting the government. Despite that, she was not a part of the opposition, but her stance of standing up for the rights came up in this torture that she experienced. So who would do that? Genuinely, could we believe that the government doesn't know anything about these people? Should we believe that the government doesn't know anything about the killing of Messiah Tafumane, the latest victim? And if they know, what have they done about it? How can we have a government proclaiming to be in control, leaving all these things happening as if nothing has happened, except if the government knows something about it? Not even one of the perpetrators have been arrested and tried since the dawn of independence in Zimbabwe in 1980. But they've been doing it. Unless we agree that the government of Zimbabwe has been overthrown by a group of people that it doesn't know, the only answer will be that the government knows something about these things and has decided to look aside. It's all up to you to decide, why would the government do this? We look at all these hypotheses, all these possibilities that are there, and say, what does the government know about these people? Why will these perpetrators be allowed to roam freely across the country when there is a government with police and soldiers in the country and carrying AK-47s? And of course, why are these perpetrators having so much plenty resources and hiding places in a country where there's a government? Disappearing like that and appearing when they strike, after striking they go underground. Is it true that that can happen in a country like Zimbabwe, where we've seen members of the opposition being brutalized for causing havoc, for causing violence, and sometimes trammed up charges of violence? In a country where we've got an MP member of parliament like Job Sikala rotting in jail now for over a year for charges of causing violence? You're telling me that same government is not able to catch people who go around the country carrying AK-47? These are some of the questions that we pose to you as we say, who is behind the kidnappings in Zimbabwe? The ball is out there, is in your court. Tell us, what do you think? Do you think this is happening under the nose of the government, behind the back of the government, or it is the government behind it? Let's talk. Tell us what you think. What do you think exactly is the matter that is at hand? This is one of the discussions that we're going to do. We're going to follow up on that one, asking questions, deep questions about these kidnappings. In our next episode, we're going to look at case by case of those that have been kidnapped, for you to say, for you to judge. The judgment is yours. We bring the facts to you right, raw as they are. We fear and favor no one. Our aim is to give you everything analyzed and put on the table. Not even putting investigative skills into it, because everything is bare. What do you think? Who is behind the kidnapping of people in Zimbabwe? Tizo Kumalo, here in Johannesburg.